are living in a disrupted age. Our world is shaped by conflicts, change, and uncertainty. Power is shifting, certainty is fading, and the systems we once relied on are no longer stable.
Geopolitical tensions are redrawing borders. Technology is transforming how we live, how we work, and how we connect. And demographic shifts are reshaping the foundations of our economies.
Decisions made in one part of the world are affecting lives everywhere, and we can all feel the consequences. Change for one is happening at an unprecedented pace, making it harder for us to navigate our world and simply just to predict it.
It shapes our thoughts and our decisions, so we're constantly forced to adapt, and the question becomes, what can we do to navigate this disrupted age?
We are the 55th International Students Committee, 30 students who spent the last 9 months bringing the St.Gallen Symposium and the dialogue around this question to life.
Because in a disrupted age, we all face a choice: to stay passive and become victims, or to proactively take matters into our own hands.
By creating space for constructive dialogue, by exchanging perspectives that challenge assumptions, we can move from reaction to proaction.
A space where disagreement is not avoided but used to move forward, and where generations come together to test ideas and create solutions, and where tolerance for varying opinions is actively lived, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary.
Decision makers like you here today have come together from different generations, geographies, and sectors, all driven by the belief that together we can shape a better future for all.
We've been looking forward to this moment for a very long time, and we're truly happy that you're here. Over the next 2 days, please take the time to listen, question, and reflect what needs to be done to create a future that we are proud of.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
You just saw the 55th International Students Committee.
30 students who have dedicated the past year to bring this symposium to life. From the ride that brought you here this morning to the badge you're wearing right now.
From the screen you see behind us to the very seat you're sitting in.
And from the coffee you had this morning to the experiences that await you the next 2 days. Every single detail has been thoughtfully crafted by our student team.
But this commitment goes far beyond those 2 days. Over the past 10 months, we have traveled across 32 countries, hosted 14 global receptions, and engaged with voices spanning generations, industries, and regions.
And throughout this journey, one central question guided us. What does it mean to live in a disrupted age? And how can we not only navigate disruption, but turn it into opportunity?
And this question not only shaped the conversations with you leading up to the symposium, but also shaped the way we worked as a team. We came to realize that disruption can be experienced in many different ways. For some, it brings uncertainty and challenge, and for others, it creates space for change, adaptation, and new solutions.
And for us, disruption became part of our daily reality. Rising prices, tightening safety regulations, and last-minute flight restrictions required us to rethink our plans over and over again.
So, if there was one theme that stood out most from this journey, it was the importance of freedom. Not as an abstract idea, but as something real and tangible. The freedom to move across borders and see the world firsthand. The freedom to speak openly, truly listen, and exchange ideas. And the freedom to connect across generations, industries, and regions.
And for our team specifically, it meant the freedom to adapt, to adjust when plans no longer held, to question what we thought we knew, and to act, even if the path ahead seemed uncertain. Without this ability to adapt, enabling a truly global, cross-generational dialogue would not have been possible.
And I actually experienced that myself when I traveled to India for our yearly Mumbai reception. We shaped the theme around India's role in a global disrupted economy. But on the very morning of the event, just one post from the US president shaped the entire discussion. And when you think about that he does this 20 times a day, You come to realize that what you plan for months can change in seconds, and the only real way to respond is to stay flexible and have the ability to change and adapt in real time.
I experienced this myself as well. We brought our leaders of tomorrow here to St. Gallen from all around the world. And growing instability in the Middle East meant that we had to rebook flights again and again. And for some participants, including essay finalists from Iran, joining us was ultimately no longer possible. In those moments, freedom became tangible. The freedom to move, which should never be taken for granted, and the freedom within our team to act quickly, adapt, and make the best decision under difficult circumstances.
These moments went far beyond anything we had planned. And in doing so, they reshaped how we see leadership, how we build trust, and how we remain resilient in a world that refuses to stand still.
But all these learnings would not have been possible with a strong community like you. People and organizations who believe in what we are building, who support us, challenge us, and place their trust in us, even in times of big uncertainty.
With this in mind, we would like to take a moment to express our gratitude to our leaders of tomorrow. Thank you for being here, exchanging your perspective, and actively shaping the cross-generational dialogue.
To our senior leaders, thank you for engaging in dialogue with such openness and for embracing our motto of leading with the next generation in mind. Also to the University of St. Gallen for hosting us the 55th time, and to over 600 student volunteers, which are more than 5% of all the students at the university, who made this all even possible.
To the St. Gallen Foundation for International Studies and to our Board of Trustees, thank you for your continuous support and guidance. To the alumni of the International Students Committee, thank you for reminding us that this is more than just an organization, but a lifelong community.
And finally, to the 55th International Students Committee, thank you for your commitment, for showing up every day, no matter how big the challenge and how short the night was, and for showing us what real teamwork, resilience, and endurance looks like. It was truly a pleasure to have worked with you and to have shaped this symposium together.
And you know what? It is exactly this combination of trust, resilience, and adaptability that we just talked about that made it even possible for us to be here today. And over the next 2 days, you will get a unique opportunity to connect with people from 92 nations spanning 5 generations. And it is exactly this diversity of perspective that makes this exchange so powerful and unique.
So, now we encourage you to be open, be curious, and don't be afraid to ask difficult questions. Because now is the time to listen, to discuss, and to challenge assumptions. So take the opportunity to learn from another and turn those learnings into action.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen,
welcome to the 55th St. Gallen Symposium.
And now, we would like to welcome the President of the University of St. Gallen, Professor Manuel Ammann, to the stage.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, dear honored guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you to the University of St. Gallen for the 55th St. Gallen Symposium. For over 5 decades, the St. Gallen Symposium has served as a platform for intergenerational dialogue, for collaboration between our students and leaders in business, in politics and academia. At the University of St. Gallen, being located in Switzerland, one of the oldest and most stable democracies, we are deeply grateful for our functioning rule of law, for our extensive civil rights based on direct democracy, and for the separation of power that is resilient and makes our system in Switzerland resilient to political extremes and avoids the accumulation of power in one place or one person. Yet, on a global scale, this privileged and stable situation is increasingly becoming rare. As previously trusted contracts, agreements, implicit or explicit, are being questioned and broken. Insecurity increases, uncertainty increases, generating additional political, geopolitical, and economic risks and causing suffering. What are we to do about this? Rather than despairing, becoming pessimistic, or even fatalistic, we should ask ourselves, what can we do about it? How can we equip ourselves, and particularly the new generation, with a mindset and with tools to navigate complexity and disruption, and to make a positive contribution to the economic development and society? And what we need for that are individuals who are both entrepreneurial and responsible, as we stated in the vision of the University of St. Gallen. Individuals who see opportunities where others see only disruption and complexity. Individuals who take decisions in the presence of uncertainty and ambiguity. And perhaps most important of all, individuals who take responsibility even if it's involving personal risk. Ladies and gentlemen, the University of St. Gallen is educating precisely these kind of individuals. We are deeply committed to providing our students with an education that goes far beyond technical excellence, but also involves skills such as leadership, intellectual curiosity and agility, and critical thinking. And whenever I come to this symposium, whenever I see how much commitment, how much drive, how much energy and passion our students put into this symposium, it makes me optimistic. It makes me optimistic that the young generation will make a positive contribution, is living our motto of the University of St. Gallen, from insight to impact. And I trust this will be a positive impact. So please join me now in thanking our students who put their time, a lot of work, their passion and energy in making this symposium an excellent experience for you all. Thank you very much. And now it's my great pleasure to ask our alumnus and conference chairperson, Christoph Heusgen, to the floor, a renowned expert in political and security questions. Christoph will give you an introduction of this symposium's topics. And I now wish you, all of you, a wonderful symposium, many insights, a lot of good discussions. Enjoy your time at the University of St. Gallen. Thank you very much.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, excellencies. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be part of this opening session today. Let me first start with recognizing a person who has established this symposium 55 years ago, Wolfgang Schürer. Where are you? Actually, we studied together, so you can... He has long handed over this symposium to new young generations, and I must say, again, I'm overwhelmed by the friendliness, by the enthusiasm, by their dedication, by their thoughtfulness, how they put together this progress. And again, as President Ammann did, please give a hand to the outstanding students of the University of St. Gallen, the hundreds of students who engage in the ISC. There is a clear link between the theme that the ISC chose last year, you may remember, shifting global power, to disrupted age. And I think that the ISC was very proud when the Canadian Prime Minister stole the theme when in Davos, in his speech, he talked about rupture. So again, the ISC was ahead even of the Canadian Prime Minister, but he also, of course, underlined what we have been seeing, the shifting global powers, the shift in AI. We last year talked about AI, but this year, the last year, we really seen the disruption that AI may bring in many directions. But we have seen, in particular, the disruption in geopolitics. Last year, when I also spoke here, we just witnessed President Trump, who had been in office for a few months. We had seen this, we had listened to the speech that J.D. Vance gave in Munich. We have seen the humiliation that President Zelensky had to undergo in the Oval Office. But since then, the disruption has become even very obvious. We have seen that the US president threatens the annexation of Greenland and enters into a confrontation with a NATO partner, Denmark. We have seen the capture of a sitting president in Venezuela. We have had and seen the launch of a war against Iran. We have the continuation of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. We have, in the Middle East, we have seen the regime in Tehran and its proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah, continue to terrorize their population and their neighbors. But we have also seen in the Middle East the occupation of neighboring territory by Israel in Syria, in Lebanon, in Gaza, and in the West Bank. And we have seen a violation of international humanitarian law. We have a record number of civilian deaths, the destruction of civilian infrastructure. We have forced displacement of civilians in a dimension that we couldn't believe before. We have seen attacks on humanitarian, on medical workers. And we'll talk a bit later here in this room about Sudan, maybe the worst case of humanitarian disaster with the rapid support forces with the support of the United Emirates responsible for war crimes, for crimes against humanity. All these disruptions have one thing in common, and this is the violation of international law. The violation of international humanitarian law, the violation of the Charter of the United Nations, the violation of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This is the basis of the post-war, post-Second World War global order. Is further disruption inevitable? Are there means to turn the tide? This is what this symposium today and tomorrow is about. What are the consequences of AI? What are the responsibilities of digital platforms? What is happening with demography and the consequences? And we need the input by the young generation, and therefore this conference is really unique with this cross-generational discussion. My take is, yes, we can preserve the rule of law. We have to oppose the tendency towards the rule of the strongest. Yes, institutions need to be reformed, among all, first of all, the United Nations. Yes, we need other changes. We need the private sector to assume more responsibility. And we'll have actually a bit later, and let me do some PR for a panel that we have here at 11:15 on Sudan, on the biggest catastrophe that we witness. But again, there are people turning the tide. An organization like Médecins Sans Frontières, which is very active there, or an organization, and forgive me to name but one, the IKEA Foundation with 30 million, assuming corporate responsibility for the situation in Sudan, actually going into the theater and trying to help things. We also have, with regard to international humanitarian law, we hope, and I hope she's here, the director of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Mirjana Spoljaric, who has launched the initiative, the so-called global initiative to redirect nations, and there are 70 and more nations who have undersigned this now, to again preserve and remind people, nations, leaders of the international humanitarian law. We have seen, about turning the tide, we have seen developments in Hungary, where all of a sudden, from an authoritarian regime, we go back to a democratic regime. And we have seen also in the United States that there, when you look at the polls that go into a certain direction, you have the opposition against the authoritarian tendencies. And let's talk about Ukraine. We are all very much impressed by the ingenuity, by the perseverance of the Ukrainian people. And we see that there is a turn. If you follow a bit the news, you'll see that Vladimir Putin starts to be scared. He is scared of a coup d'etat. He is scared that his May 9th parade may be disturbed by Ukrainian drones. He is in severe economic difficulties. He has a recession, and he has, another topic, severe demographic problems. So there are positive trends. And let me here in Switzerland also mention one organization that has, to a certain degree, the cradle here in Switzerland, and this is the European Union. I may remind you that 80 years ago, Winston Churchill came to this country, came to Zurich, and said something which I think holds true still today. And I quote him, "The only remedy is to recreate the European family and provide it with a structure under which it can dwell in peace, in safety, and in freedom." And you listen to the students who were just in their speech underlining the importance of freedom. The EU, yes, as many member states have to reform bureaucracy, they have to work more on deepening the internal market, they have to do more on the capital market, more on defense. But we have seen when President Trump gave the speech about Greenland, when the European Union spoke with one vote and threatened with huge tariffs, that Trump retreated. Let me end my speech turning to the students, to the ISC, and I quote a speech that Barack Obama gave in Hanover in 2016. Actually, he should have given it here in St.Gallen. I don't know why he wasn't invited, but let me quote from his speech which he gave to the European youth. You have grown up in the most peaceful, prosperous, integrated era of European history. And because of that, sometimes it's easy to take it for granted. But the progress that you have seen here in Europe over the last decades is not inevitable. It has to be worked for. It has to be defended. And you, the young people of Europe, have to be invested in it. Because if you are not, then others will fill the void. Those who would divide, those who would build walls, those who would suggest that retreating behind borders is the answer to the challenges of our time. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure now to hand over the mic to the Director General of UNESCO, to whom I only have one request. Could he, at the end of his speech, proclaim the St.Gallen Symposium and the ISC World Heritage? Mr. Khaled El-Enany.
Why should I wait to the end of my speech? I can start. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear professors, very dear students, it's a great pleasure to join you for the opening of the 55th St.Gallen Symposium. Extremely well organized because it's organized by students. A platform for dialogue organized by students is particularly meaningful for UNESCO. Dialogue lies at the very heart of the organization. It's our DNA. Education is our highest priority, something I value deeply also as professor of Egyptology. Youth is one of UNESCO's 2 priority groups. Yesterday, I had the privilege of visiting the Abbey of St.Gallen, inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List, as well as its remarkable library and archives, recognized under UNESCO's Memory of the World program. It was a journey through centuries of spirituality and thought into a world built on continuity, intellectual rigor, and the sustained transmission of accumulated knowledge, where ideas have been carefully preserved, shared, and enriched across generations. After this immersive experience, one cannot but return to our world, which could hardly be more different. A world defined by acceleration and uncertainty, a time that is increasingly defined not by continuity, but disruption. I'm honored to represent UNESCO today, and I was informed yesterday by Mr. Schur that it's the first participation of UNESCO DG since 1989. So I'm very happy for this return. UNESCO is an organization created in the aftermath of the Second World War to respond to such moments of rupture and to help societies navigate profound change through cooperation and knowledge to build and defend peace in the minds of men and women. For over 8 decades, UNESCO has brought together actors across education, science, culture, and free circulation of ideas, as underlined by the students, to build shared standards, trusted knowledge, and practical cooperation, the foundation of lasting peace. In today's disrupted world, this mission is more critical than ever. With our 194 member states, our 53 field offices across the world, and our broad ecosystem of institute, UNESCO chairs, Category 2 centers, NGO, and private sector partners, we stand ready to play this stabilizing role alongside all actors of goodwill to address our shared global challenges, including demographic shifts, technological transformation and divides, and geopolitical tensions. Demographic shifts from aging societies to rapidly growing youth population are transforming labor markets and social cohesion. UNESCO supports countries in adapting education systems across the life course, promoting lifelong learning, flexible pathways, and recognition of prior learning. Through global citizenship education and the strengthened TVET systems, we align skills with evolving needs and help ensure that demographic change becomes a driver of inclusion, opportunity, and sustainable development. Artificial intelligence is rapidly transforming education, science, and public services. UNESCO works to ensure this transformation remains human-centered and inclusive, building on its recommendation on the ethics of AI. We support governments and institutions with tools and training, promote adaptive learning and multilingual access, and lead global efforts on media and information literacy to equip societies to navigate digital spaces responsibly. In a context of growing tensions, cooperation is both more difficult and more necessary. UNESCO helps maintain spaces for dialogue through practical cooperation, whether on shared water resources for the protection of cultural heritage in conflict zones. With decisions largely adopted by consensus, UNESCO remains a platform where countries can work together, safeguarding cooperation in education, science, culture, and information despite geopolitical divides. Ladies and gentlemen, dear students, in a disrupted age, what ultimately matters is not only systems or technologies, but people. UNESCO's mission is precisely to work with and for people, so that transformation becomes shared progress and disruption does not turn into division. Thank you. And now, please allow me to give the floor to the President of the International Student Committee, dear Lena. Floor is yours. Thank you.